Comic. Comic book. Comic book.
Hi, everybody, it's Weird Wink Wilkinson laughing and scratching at you. How's everybody doing today? I got a little bit of a stiff neck. Let me just fix this up. Oh, that feels a lot better. Well, I got a great show for you today with some wonderful weird stuff. I feel so very weird.
There are some things in this world that go way beyond human understanding. Things that cannot be explained, things that most people don't want to know about. That is where we come in.
No human being would stack books like this.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. I'm all out of bubblegum.
Oh, it looks like you're the one who needs to be taught a lesson, pal. Class is Pain 101. The instructor's Casey Jones.
Look, I don't want to fight you.
Well, tough rocks, pal.
Do you want some coffee, Mr. Tully?
Do I?
Yes, have some.
Yes, have some.
It's a cup of coffee in the big time, yeah. Cup of coffee in the big time.
Hey, what do you say we both be independent together, huh?
I guess one person can make a difference. Enough said.
We have the tools, we have the talent.
It's Miller time.
Luminous being so we, not this fruit batcher.
Empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water. Now you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow, or it can crash. Be water, my friend.
You, me, or nobody is gonna hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done.
Hey, these aren't my rules. Come to think of it, I don't have any rules.
Well, that's great. Either I have a monster in my kitchen or I'm completely crazy.
I don't think you're crazy.
You know something? Maybe I am insane. Maybe I am insane.
Pizza dude's got 30 seconds.
Rise to the top, oh yeah.
That's the nicest thing a dog can say about anybody.
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. Enough, I get the point. You know what you need? You need a Brazilian plastic surgeon.
I've got one that can see.
Sometimes happens, someone has to deal with it, and who are you gonna call?
It's showtime.
All right. Hello, everybody. What's up? Welcome to Comic Book Radio, episode 292. My guest tonight is Chris O'Hara, and I'm your host, Peter Cimetti. Now, it's been a week since I've been on. The last time I was on was with Adam Lawson, literally last week, last Thursday. So I hope you guys are doing good. Thank you guys for joining me tonight. I've got a lot on my plate nowadays, especially doing my own printing. So I'm going to be having more of like once or twice a week kind of a thing where I actually do a show. I know some of you guys maybe are disappointed by that. Maybe some of you guys are like, good, we see enough of you. We don't want to see more. Either way, it is what it is. So this week's guest, of course, you probably haven't seen him on this show before unless you've tuned in religiously to open mic shows over the past few years, because he was on one of those. I'm curious to pick his brain about a couple of things tonight regarding his book, but before I bring him on, I do want to show you guys the newsprint campaign. So there's only 5 days left on this. We're at 15,819, 128 backers on board. Thank you guys very much. We got 5 days left to reach the first stretch goal mark, which is $17,000. So it's like, I don't know, what is that? I'm not going to do math live on air. A little over 1,000. We'll probably reach there. I really think we could. But at the $17,000 mark, it's going to unlock that stretch goal to get a third printer, which is just for mini comics. So this will be a dedicated mini comic printer. And we do have a couple other stretch goals. I don't know if we're going to reach those or not, because those are at like 20,000 and then something else. Maybe we do. That would be great. But the 17,000 is pretty attainable. So 5 days left. I'll have a closeout show when the time comes. It's going to close. The last day to back the campaign is July 1st, closing down July 2nd. And July 1st is kind of a big day too, because it's also the remastered Wave 2 for the Alterna books is going to be available to pre-order at that time. All of those orders are shipping out. There was a misprint on the Red Koi book. Some of you guys have asked, wondering, what's holding up your shipment. When I was looking through everything, I realized that they had misprinted one of the ways that the font picked up. It was strange. They don't even know what they did. A printing problem, you say? I've never talked about that before. But luckily, they handled it very quickly and very kindly. And that's already in the mail. So I should be getting those on Saturday. And then Monday, all of the backlog of remastered books will be going out. All of that stuff should be fulfilled probably throughout the rest of next week. Some people will be getting their orders a little bit past the launch of Wave 2, but everyone will be getting them pretty much as close as possible to that launch, with about maybe half or so people getting them before that launch occurs. But this newsprint campaign, thank you guys so much for your support. Thank you for spreading the word. Really appreciate it. 5 days left on that. All right. Before I bring Chris on, let me say hello to those of you in the chat. We got Ara here saying, good evening, everyone. Hi, Pete. Hope you're staying cool. It is so much nicer now. There was no way, even if I had a guest the past 3 days, there's no way I was going to do it. There's just no way. It was like, I don't even know, 100 something, whatever it was 2 days ago. Craziness. And it is like 70 today. It's like, pick one. Can we have summer? Can we have like 85? 85. That's nice. Bent Box, that's our guest tonight. Saying hello to you guys. We got What Geeks Do here. What's up, What Geeks Do? Says, been a bit since I tuned in. Been a bit since I've been on. Been a week. Wayne, what's up, Wayne? Hope you're doing good. We got Darker Half here as well. And Headless Bourgeoisie saying, woohoo. Whatever it is you're woohooing about, I'm glad you're woohooing. All right, so without further ado, let's bring him on, the man of the hour, Mr. Chris O'Hara. What's up, Chris?
Hey, Peter. Nothing much. Thanks so much for having me. Excited to be here.
I'm glad to have you here. Now, you got an interesting book, but we're not going to spend all day talking about it, of course. But I do want to talk to you about a couple of different things. But I got to mention one thing of your book. You have a book called Refuge, right? That's what you're currently pushing on.
You got it. Yeah. Yes, sir.
And today's the last day. Is that correct?
Tomorrow at 5 p.m.
Okay. When I was looking through it dawned on me that it kind of reminded me of Peter and the Wolf. Was that an inspiration at all?
One of my favorite things I'm doing a circuit right now, as I keep labeling it online. One of my favorite things is going on shows and having them say that. Not Peter and the Wolf, but just something. Like, one of my favorite cartoons as a kid was fill in the blank. Was this an inspiration? I'm like, no, that was... I remember that now, and now I totally see it, and that's kind of cool that everyone has their own thing. You know what I mean? Like Peter and the Wolf. I 100% remember that. That was not necessarily an inspiration for it, though, which is just cool that's the one you brought up.
Yeah, because for a second, and it's the visual only, it's like the
Yes.
kid that he's in the snowy forest. There's like a creature tracking him,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, I wonder if this was kind of like an adaptation or an inspiration or whatever it might be. And you didn't mention it on the campaign, so I was like, okay, I guess it's not an adaptation or anything. But I was wondering if
like
it was an inspiration.
Subliminal. I'm not even going to test the word. Mentally, somewhere deep down in the far reaches of my mind, for all I know, it might have been. I mean, like obviously the easy go-tos were Calvin and Hobbes. Huge fan of that as a kid. yeah, like Monster, even some of the more modern stuff, Monsters Inc. Over the Garden Wall is one that I reference a lot. So yeah, we all have those little things that kind of inspire us, and some we don't even really realize. So,
oh yeah,
potentially,
absolutely. So
conscious memory, that's much easier than saying subliminally. Thank you.
It is easier to say. I don't know if it's easier to remember though.
No.
So as far as this book goes and your comics career, how did all of this come about? How did you get into comics? How did you get into creating comics?
I've always been like kind of a creative person. When I was younger, comics was like kind of my whole thing. When I was a kid, my dad was a huge collector of them. He inked for Marvel, so that's a little factoid about me. Way back in the day in the 80s, I had walk-in closets filled with comics, not clothes, because that would be a waste of a walk-in closet, obviously, but just long boxes after long boxes of comics.
Dude, truth be told, I got a little walk-in sort of closet
there,
thing.
There you go. And you're using it appropriately for what it was made for. And that was my childhood, was just that. He ended up bailing, which is always fun, as some cool dads do. And then I just dropped comics. I just got out of it. I kind of picked up video games, and I used to draw like crazy because obviously I wanted to kind of be like him and draw and stuff like that, which really sucks because I wish I knew how to draw, or at least I wish I would have kept up with it. But since I dropped it, like, dude, I have a hard time with stick figures now. I could maybe get back into it, probably not. All that said, fast forward 30 years later, around there, one of my good buddies, John Schell, he ended up making his first comic, The Last Wand, which was awesome. And it was one of those moments where I see, like, oh, you can do this, is a thing you can do now, because I was out of comics for so long, and I've always been a creative person. I like telling stories. I've written screenplays, and I used to make indie video games back in the day, because that's actually what I went to college. That's what I went to college for, was game development. And all my game ideas were always like narrative based and story driven, and I also wanted to tell a story with them. And then when I saw John make a book, it was like a light bulb. I was like, oh, let me try. Let me try. So then I made Artificial, which was my first book. Extremely proud of it. I think it went pretty well. I have good reception for it. And then that's kind of just like where the bug hit. You know what I mean? I got bit by the bug, and now I have so many plates spinning in the air, but it's the most fun I've had. You know what I mean? I wouldn't change it.
You're lucky. You must be in like the rare camp where you're actually proud of your first work.
Yes. So, and I sit there in silence. I was in a writer's workshop, and everyone quotes that quote of like, your first script is always going to be trash. That's kind of how it is. And I just sit there and go, I agree, because I don't want to be that guy. But no, I legitimately love Artificial One, my very first comic, and I will give that, though, I'm going to give John a ton of props, because he'll readily admit it, he did a ton of mistakes trying to figure out how to make his first book. And then when I was like, oh, I want to try, he just literally was like, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, make sure this is the blah, blah, blah. And so
that would explain the more enjoyable experience.
Yes. And plus, the first comic I did, Artificial, was done with an artist who's never done a comic before. So it was just literally the blind leading the blind. But it was such a fun experience. It went very well. Thankfully, he's super knowledgeable and very talented, so that definitely helped. And we kind of leaned on each other during the process. But yes, I'm one of those lucky folk who I'm very proud of my first comic.
Around what year was that?
I think it was about 2 years ago now. Actually, no, that was about 3 years ago. The time is an illusion at this point. I have no idea, where we are in time. I think it was 3 years ago, and then I made Artificial 2. About I think 6 or 7 months after, and then I've kind of just been slowly making. I've been building Bentbox. I'm a creator, but I'm also the owner of a small press publisher, Bentbox Comics, based out of Florida. So we onboard a bunch of different creators. It's all creator-owned books. We have guys from Scotland, Israel. Right now, I'm working with a guy, Brazil, Portugal, Ohio. The more crazy
Very
places like
nice.
Ohio. But yeah.
Wow. Man, yeah, very nice. So this is a venture that's only just a couple of years old.
Yeah.
Are you guys experiencing any growing pains or anything along those lines? How's that been?
I mean, the same as I'm sure everyone in the indie space,
I mean, you say that, but everyone I'm finding, I've talked to a lot of people, and
true.
everyone's kind of experienced, their own version of it.
True. Yeah.
But it's always different. The different obstacles for everybody.
So, I mean, we're obviously struggling with, and I've been I love being open about this kind of stuff. So, like, because I lean on people for advice. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
I typically say if you're the smartest person in the room, you should find a new room. Like, I try and go like, who knows more than I do? So all that said, I think the thing that I'm the proudest of with Bentbox is I think we have 13 or 14 titles now, through multiple different creators, some myself, some John, some bunch of others. And everyone toots their own horn, but they're all good. They're all very high quality. The art's great. So I'm very proud of our library. We've had major success on Global Comics. Global Comics has been a very steadily growing platform for us. Like, we're at 700 followers, I think, and we're slowly growing. We're at almost 30,000 downloads or whatever they calculate it as. So that's been going well. Now, when it comes to actually funding your book and finding a reader, that's where we're, growing pains. We're trying to find our readers. We're trying to find our fans. And honestly, the best place that we've experienced success there is cons. We do a ton of Comic Cons, and we've built up a very loyal local in Florida, like reader base, which is awesome. We'll have tons of people meet us at every con, and they'll be like, "Hey, Bentbox," and typically we're very friendly, and I love meeting people. So it's typically like dab them up and just, "Hey, man, welcome back. You got any new books?" "Yeah, we got a new book." And then here you go. They buy it almost always. It doesn't even matter what it is. They rarely even ask that question. They just go, "All right, yeah, put it in the bag," because they just want all of our books. So that's awesome.
Which shows in Florida do you have the most success at?
So that's one of those fun questions of we've only done I think 3 large cons. We haven't been able to get into MegaCon yet because it's such a hard thing to get into. But we did a Taku Fest, which was massive. We've done a handful of larger cons. All of them have been, we make table by the skin of our teeth, barely. And that's me begging on the showroom floor with an hour left in the campaign, in the con, being like, "Please, someone buy my book for $2."
No, I hear you. Yeah, I don't want to take this back and haul it. Yeah.
I mean, you're paying for a hotel, you're paying for travel time, everything when you do these large cons. So our best cons, it's the local, like Radisson Inn, local Bell Tower is the shops. That's the place we typically go to.
Those are the best ones.
Yeah, it's just a little conference room. And we do significantly better there, percentage wise. Obviously, like, say you go to a Taku Fest, we made $1,500, but it cost us like $2,500 once everything's said and done. And you go to the Radisson Inn and it's $100 for a table, and we make $500. That's a better day. Yeah. So I will take that, and that's typically what we do. And they're more frequent, so we'll hit them up. We're typically at a con at least a couple times a month is my goal.
Yeah, that's the same experience that I've had too. And I don't really table at cons anymore. Maybe one day that'll change, but I had like 10 plus years of doing it, and it was I'm burnt out. But when I go to the shows every now and then, I just go to like a really small show. It's like in a high school gym.
Yeah, that's so much more fun. Or like a local library. There's a couple of those around here. I'm like, this is where I want to be. This is fun.
Yeah, it's not even to go. It's nowhere near as expensive. You see a lot of comics and a lot of creators that are there, and it's not like this big, huge pop culture expo type thing. Like if that's your thing,
Yeah.
that's cool. But if you're there mostly to find comics, I love the smaller shows.
Yeah, I mean, Comic-Con, if you ask me, is kind of the term doesn't mean what it used to mean, at least from my point of view, because when I mean like those large shows, typically trying to sell someone on your IP is much more difficult because they're just trying to find Pikachu and the Funko Pops, and you know what I mean. And then I'm like, hey, you want to read a book about fairies and wands, and it's really cool, and you know what I mean? Like that.
Or like
that's
they
what you run into.
pre-bought a bunch of meet and greets with celebrities and whatever
Celebrities,
else. And
yeah.
so you
So
get
sticking
lost
to
in
the
the
small-
shuffle.
Yeah. And then on that point, I'll hit it real quick if you're even interested, because doing your own printing thing's incredible, and props to you, and it's awesome to see how it's going. So I haven't been following that very recently or very long until recent. So I'm now looking at it. It's awesome. But like along the same lines, we ran our first con in April because we wanted to get involved with that. We figured we could throw a con.
Oh, that's great.
It was pretty, ballsy of me to say I could just throw a con, but we did it. But it's called a Con at the Arcade, and it's a deal I made with Dave & Buster's. I don't know if you're familiar with Dave & Buster's.
Oh yeah. It's like an arcade, and you can.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's a massive arcade with like a bar and a dining room area,
Yeah.
and everything. And they have conference rooms that's basically the same size as your local hotel.
Oh,
And
okay.
I just basically pitched it to the general manager of the local one, and she was 100% on board. So we had our first one, and that has been my most successful con I've ever had. And I was barely at my table because I was running it.
That's great.
Yeah, so I'm excited for that. That's something that, because it's with Dave & Buster's, the really cool thing is we've already discussed it. My plan is Dave & Buster's Tampa, Dave & Buster's Miami. I even have a connection with someone in New York. And now, in theory, if everything goes to plan, Bentbox Comics hosts the Comic-Con specifically for Dave & Buster's.
That's awesome. Well, yeah, you got to start somewhere, and outside the box ideas. You never know. It's something that maybe someone else hasn't really done that before, but that's where you go, okay, well, what would it hurt to try?
It's worth a shot. Yeah, that's why I was super thankful that it worked out well. And the best part is, like, the general manager came up at the end of the day, and I was laying on, this isn't even a joke, I have a picture to prove it. I was laying on the ground. Everyone had left because I had to run it by myself. My wife was sick. My partner was busy.
Oh, man.
I literally did everything by myself. I was laying on the ground with all my crap in the corner, still needing to get packed up. And Jessie walks in, and she goes, "That was amazing. It was fantastic. It went super well. We had a bump in sales, Dave & Buster's." And I'm like, "That's what I want to hear." And then she said, "The next one, let's make it bigger. It can be much bigger." And I'm like, "That's what I want to hear." But like from the ground.
How many people attended, would you say?
That's the hard part to really nail down. It's free to attend because there's not really a way to charge people at the door, because our whole premise behind it is allowing it to be just open to the general public that come to Dave & Buster's, because you have natural traffic. You have natural traffic. Dave & Buster's is always packed. It has kids, it has families, it has people interested in pop culture, gamers. It's a natural place for a Comic-Con. Then you have all the people that you specifically like advertise for, and they come just for the con. So it's hard to tell, but I will say between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. when we closed, rarely had a lull. It was just traffic.
Wow. What were you charging for tables and stuff?
100 for a table, 175 for 2 tables. Trying to keep it reasonable. I mean, to be honest, I got the room cheap because it was like a test run. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I didn't want to, because it was a test run, and I really had no idea how well it was going to go. For all I know, I was like, hey, one person might show up, and I don't want you guys spending a bunch of money for no reason. So I try to make it cheap and affordable. And that's honestly like the going rate around here is it's about $100, $125 a table for all like the local small cons. So I was like, I'll stick around there.
Yeah.
But if we make it bigger though, because she says she wants to take up an entire dining room hall. And I was like, okay, That sounds awesome. I mean, that would triple the size of the original con. I might up the table because it might be more expensive for me, but I'm excited. As you can
That's
tell.
great to hear, man. Well, yeah, you got to innovate. That's definitely something you got to do in this space. And
yeah, I hear a lot of people say the word innovate, and no shade thrown anywhere. I rarely see anyone innovating. And that was always...
It's easier to talk about innovating than innovating.
It really is. But that's why, thankfully, like John and I...
It's like, no, I meant like someone else has to innovate.
You do it. And then I'll benefit from you
I'll
putting in the
talk
effort.
about how someone needs to do it. But
that gets you followers on Twitter. That's for sure. But so thankfully, like John and I, we would brainstorm nonstop about innovation, specifically because, hey, to be fair, those people who said someone needs to innovate got the fire under our butts to go like, okay, we need to innovate. And so I guess that's, to be fair, they played a role. but yeah, we're trying to innovate. I mean, I have a bunch of other stuff that I'm actually not going to tell you about because I'm too excited about it. But yeah, Bentbox is just planning on being innovative.
There you
subliminally. Don't worry.
Subliminally innovative.
That's what we're gonna do.
Yeah. Critical Reads is enjoying Refuge. His Refuge is an amazing book and is totally worth backing. Great story and art. Look at that.
That's John, by the way. Thanks, John.
That's the is that your co-creator?
Yeah, basically. He originally started as a co-owner of the company, and then he's starting a family now. So he's having a daughter soon. So congrats to John. So he's stepping away from like the managerial role of comics, and I'm just heading the company now. But he's making comics.
Oh, awesome!
But it's still a really fun. Like
here for a while, I didn't know that's who that was.
Yeah, we try and have a good bounce board off each other. You know what I mean? So we can kind of bounce ideas off each other.
Kevin Thomas has backed a copy of Refuge. Looks great.
Thank you. Thank you, Kevin.
Awesome. So yeah, I'm really intrigued by what you're doing with the convention stuff because, it leads me back to that. I want to kind of talk more about innovation within comics because there's a lot of stuff that's going on within comics where the playing field has been leveled, and that's a great thing. The barrier to entry is very small. But with that, you have to find a way to stand out because now there's a lot more noise. There's a lot more people that are there. Yeah. Just
people use the term oversaturated, the market and everything. I mean, that's 100% what it is because.
And then I see both like kind of this conversation coming from both some creators and some readers as well, kind of lamenting that there isn't as much high quality people there, or they're taking up the space of the ones that they would, rather see there. And I get it, but at the same time, I kind of don't see a problem with it because I see that it's not the problem of those people who are on the lower rungs trying to make a way for themselves or test the waters or whatever. It's more of a problem for everybody else who really feels like, okay, well, I got to find a way to stand out because I'm here to stay. I've been doing this for a while. And that's I think the onus is upon us to try to innovate, to try to get out there, to try to do something that, you stand out, hopefully in a positive way, because it's very easy to stand out in a negative way. But it's one of those things
which can also be profitable.
Exactly. Yeah. But it's one of those things that you can't, there's no way to cure the problem of there's so many people in the space now and there's so many creators.
It literally just is what it is.
Yeah, the genie's out of the bottle kind of a thing.
Yeah.
For
sure.
So you just got to figure out a way to move forward with it. And the thing is that the attrition rate of this kind of thing really kicks in quickly. Even if by quickly, and it is quick, even if you say it's a year or 2 or 3, and all of a sudden you don't see the same people that were there, 1 to 3 years ago here now, that's a relatively fast attrition rate.
That's fast. Yeah.
So it's one of those things. I get it when people are in it, but at the same time, don't spend time being frustrated about it. Try to find a way to innovate. So it seems like you're trying to find a way to innovate with just even what you guys are doing with not just the convention stuff, but you're out there getting the books out digitally. Are you doing anything else like distribution wise? Have you entertained the idea of retailer distribution? I'm not for it, so I'm not going to try to push you down that road. I've been
No,
down that
hey,
road and I'm all set. If you want to go down that road and try it, cool. That's fine with me. But I'm not trying to like do a preloaded thing here and
no
push
worries.
you in that direction. But I'm
You
curious,
know what,
are you
Peter? You've
guys
really talked me
entertaining
into
that?
it. You talked me into it. I appreciate that. So honestly, that was. I do feel like we got into comics, and by we, I try and say we as a brand, just Bentbox. But obviously, as a creator myself, I feel like we got into comics at a time where it was like not the best time to get into comics, especially for growth and being able to.
Oh yeah, you think so? Wow.
Figure out your platform and stuff like that. Well, I mean, like we have Diamond going under. I'm having the hardest time finding distributors for getting into stores. It is by far my number one priority for Bentbox, but it's on the list. It's on the list of being like, I would love to be able to be in a brick and mortar. That'd be cool. Honestly, I chalk it up to the list is like important things and then stuff that would be cool. And so being in brick and mortar, that would be cool, but definitely not on the top of my list.
Yeah. It's fun to see the comic on the shelf until you go back a couple months later and you're like, why is it still on the shelf?
Yeah, that's a problem and not my favorite thing. So like right now we're struggling with that. Not struggling. We're not really interested in that. That said, I haven't I've considered it, including I don't know if you're familiar with Massive Indies. They're
Massive Indies.
So the publisher Massive.
Be careful, they're one little letter away from Massive Undies.
Well, hey, you know what? Maybe that's a marketing idea. So you're welcome, Massive.
These are the jokes, Chris. These are the jokes.
No, hey, I'm taking it 100% seriously. I'm the dry guy, or the straight guy. So the Massive Indies, Massive the publisher, because Diamond went under, they teamed up with I'm gonna forget their name. One of the distributors. I know a couple people who use them.
Is it Lunar? Or are you thinking of
Lunar? Sorry, thank you. So Massive teamed up with them. Are you familiar with this at all?
No.
So
I'm familiar with both companies, but not familiar with this initiative.
Yeah. So this is one of those things where I'm like, I'm proud of it because Massive reached out to me, Bentbox, and said, hey, because of everything that's been going on with distribution, Massive is going to be partnering with Lunar to basically onboard indie comics. And they're like, your company is perfect for this. You have a ton of titles. They're all high quality. It was a really flattering thing. I was like, I'm 100% on board until I read the fine print.
Yeah,
so the fine print was not great. The fine print, and I'm not going to put him on blast per se, but I will say I have recommended many people not do it.
I am familiar with this.
Okay.
Actually. Yeah, I didn't know the Massive Indie. I think I knew about it
That's
before it was given that, but I knew about their partnership and I knew about them kind of like sub publishing.
Yes.
And when I read through the whole thing, I was like,
that's not a good deal.
This is just, you should just give them your book and just walk
away. Yeah, it's basically
it'd be a less of a headache at least.
I'm reading through it. I'm like, this sounds stressful as all get out, and I'm like, and I'm paying a decent chunk of money to do it. I was like, no, and the percentage back was like insanely small. So it was one of those really crappy moments of I got excited. And
a lot of people don't know this, but Kevin Rodatelli, who is the guy over at Massive, he used to sell ad space for Alterna.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for about, I don't know, maybe a year. This was, I don't know, 2018, 2019, something like that. A little bit before he did the stuff with Massive.
Well, hit your boy up and tell him to figure this out, because it's not a good deal.
Yeah.
Figure this out.
We never really had like a falling out. It was one of these like quiet quit scenarios, you know?
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah. So it's just the kind of thing though, when I saw that whole thing go through, I'm like, I get the heart's in the right place sort of thing.
And they have to they're covering a lot You know what I mean? Like they're
Yeah.
picking up a lot of slack. So I get that's another thing. I get it. And I'm
Yeah.
reading through. I'm like, you have to make your money. I get it. You're really taking a risk with just trying to be a publisher or like
And
distributor like this. So I'm like,
what my
okay,
bigger problem was, though, was not so much with Massive trying to figure out a way to circumvent the system, but with what the hell is going on with Lunar, where
yeah,
they would even think that this is it's one thing like Massive does this and they kind of are like your publisher and you're like an imprint of
yeah,
Massive, which is basically what that is without you
basically,
getting really more of like the pros of an imprint.
yeah.
But like they're teaming up with Lunar. So Lunar's aware. So it's like, why doesn't Lunar just deal directly then with these publishers? Yeah, I've
Because
tried to honestly get in touch with Lunar 3 times over the past 2 years, and I used to talk to
same,
Cameron and his wife a bunch, and I never
really,
heard from them at all. It was way easier to get in touch with them when it was just DCBS.
yeah,
And ever since like they went, Lunar bound, it's been practically impossible.
yeah.
But it's yeah, I've had a lot of like nightmare stories with retail, and I'm at the point where I go, okay, it's 3 times the work for a third of the money,
For
and
sure.
I'd rather get directly into the hands of the
Yeah,
consumer, the customer, the reader.
I
When you
think
could do
that's
that,
yeah,
yeah.
much better.
So
That's the innovation. That's like the smallest form of innovation that I think indies are doing is just basically going
yeah,
direct to customer and circumnavigating all that nonsense, which, once again, is cool to see your book in a brick and mortar shop. But otherwise, that's what we're doing. We're flat out investing in a really high quality website, making sure our digital footprint's solid,
yeah, that's
making it
good.
as easy as possible for people to get our books. That's the goal, because otherwise everything else is just a headache, and it's already hard running a small press publish. It's already stressful.
Oh
I
yeah,
don't
like
want to
if I
add to
was
it.
in, I'm like looking back through time now because I've been doing this for almost 20 years. So when I'm looking at you now and talking to you, I'm kind of looking back through time at like myself,
At a
and
younger you, yeah.
and this is quite honestly, and I hope you understand the reference, but this is honestly what I want to say to you.
Don't you say that. Don't you ever say that. Stay here. Stay as long as you can. For the love of God, cherish it.
That's what I say to anyone who's like, I think I want to go to retail. It'd be great one day to work through retail.
The worst part is it's embarrassing how much that kid resembles how I looked when I was that age. So it's the most perfect thing you could have picked, because it's basically just Adam Sandler talking to me. Yeah, no, I'm with you. So I'm with you on it. We're not really interested in it. That said, and like you said, the percentage wise of like a local comic book shop, it's not even really worth it. But we have a bunch of really awesome local comic book shops that I want to support. Like,
Yeah, like if you want to work
local.
with them directly, that's cool.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
once you start getting distribution involved, like the nightmarish quagmire of a process that it all becomes, it is
Yeah.
such a weird,
Yeah.
horrible way to do business with it when it
Yeah.
comes to the comic industry. Like retail might work and obviously does work better in certain other industries and
Right.
things like that. But when it comes to comics, like as we have seen with Diamond and how that whole thing is unraveling too, it's
Mhm.
you sit there and go, when like practically the only game in town for decades, when the bottom's falling from underneath them, you got to think like, well, that's just the middleman. Like you should almost never go under unless that industry in itself has a lot of problems.
Yeah, which is kind of why I think everyone's hair caught on fire when they saw Diamond go under. They're like, "Oh, we have problems." Like that was
Even though
whatever
like
I
anyone
saw.
like yeah, even though anyone from the past like 10 to 15 years should have been looking at that system and going like, there's a lot of problems in this.
I
This is
I
really
feel like it was
weird.
a ticking clock. You know what I mean? It was one of
Yeah.
those like, that's not surprising, is it, to many people?
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
But when you're like in the year like 2015, let's say, and it's still
the sweet year of 2015, I remember.
right, yeah, let's all go back to the nicer time of 2015,
Yeah.
and you sit there and you go, the best way to pre-order comics is like, here's this giant phone book, and you fill out this order form,
Yeah.
and you hand it. You're like, is this 1985? I mean, because if it is, like, it
That's
would be
true.
a lot cooler. So it's obviously not. But like
Yeah.
2015 comes along, and you're like, why isn't this all integrated already? And then you do like a ship to store feature on the site, because Diamond kind of didn't really act like a distributor. They kind of acted like a headquarters, like of
Yeah.
a
Okay. Yeah, that
franchise
makes sense.
sort of thing.
Yeah.
You know, so it was kind of weird, because it wasn't like you were ordering from the shop, you were ordering from Diamond, and then the shop would then get what you ordered from Diamond. And so it was
Yeah.
like this weird thing. Like, they were like
There's
back in the
way too
day when
many
you,
cooks in the kitchen for it to
yeah,
make any
it's not the
sense.
Sears catalog, but it was kind of treating it like it was like the
Yeah.
monthly Sears catalog. It's just such a weird system. And I would bring it up to our brand manager at Diamond a bunch, and I'm like, you know, are you guys ever going to integrate anything to actually utilize your site to
That's
actually have
funny.
it where, you know, because everyone's always, you know, oh, you got to market more, you got to do this, you got to get, you got to send your customers to us. That would be the conversation with a lot of retailers. And I'm thinking, like, guys, if I'm going to do that, I just put up a website and send them to me.
To me? Why am I
Yeah.
sending it to us? Us
Why
isn't
would
a thing, to be completely honest.
Like, if your only process in the equation is you would then get my book once I get enough people to become customers at your store, to me, that's not enough. That's not enough to
Yeah.
surrender like 62%. And I know the retailer
The
doesn't get the full
percentage.
62, but like, holy
Yeah,
smoke.
that's probably the biggest killer, is the percentage. I mean, real quick, that's so. Hey, you know, this is a bit of a sounding board. Let me know what you think of this. But Bentbox is kind of working as a distributor, and by that I mean, I've had many people who are coming on and wanting to join Bentbox, which is also awesome. We're growing more and more, like by the year, including a creator. I'm very excited for his series to join Bentbox. But everyone asks, what's your distribution plans for Bentbox? Like, how are my books going to get in stores? And that's funny that is literally every single person's question. So far, my answer is, my way of distribution is, I'm investing in a website. I want to be the hub for your books. You now have a place, you have a home for your books to be sold. They don't need to go to a specific website that, you know, is another website they need to memorize. And then we will ship the books out. So we're kind of distributing, but it's a direct market distribution model.
Yeah.
But that's basically all you can really do with, you know, what we have built.
Yeah, I wish you luck with that. I had an idea like that a couple of years ago, and then I just completely gave up on it, because it was such a nightmare getting retailers to get on board with it. But luck. Hopefully you have more luck.
Well, that's why I'm not doing retailers. I'm not. That's what I told the people. I was like, I'm not interested in retailers.
To sell it to people.
We're just selling it to people. It's a direct to market distribution through Bentbox. So basically, you just have a high quality website that your book's at, and you can point everyone there, and that's how they get your books, and it's easy to use. And the perfect example, and it's something that makes me think, okay, maybe we're onto something, is I had someone reach out who bought Artificial One, and they liked it so much, they bought every other book from Bentbox because of the label Bentbox. And the thing is, your comic is right there next to Artificial. And that's kind of what I've been pitching people. I was like, that's just my goal. Everything's high quality, yada, yada, yada. But that way we're building a brand that's associated with quality. And so that's where you're going to benefit from. Also, I'm giving people very high percentages. I'm barely taking anything. I think I take like 50 cents.
So what you're doing in a way is you're more like a publisher retailer. It kind of reminds me of New England Comics. Are you familiar with New England Comics?
That sounds vaguely familiar.
Yeah, they used to publish, or maybe they still do, but I don't think they do anymore. The Tick came out of New England Comics.
Yes.
Yeah.
Of course.
You know, so it kind of reminds me of that. Now, of course, they were more of a retailer that also was a publisher, but you're a publisher that's kind of also a retailer. And then who knows where this comes, 5-10 years down the line. But that to me, comics is such a weird thing, because they're ubiquitous, right? So they're all over the place. Everyone knows what a comic is, more or less. You know at least one comic character. But for some reason, unless you're on eBay or unless you're going to like midtowncomics.com or something, there's really not a lot of sites like, maybe like My Comic Shop or whatever, but there's maybe
Yeah.
5 sites or less that you can actually get a comic.
Yeah. I mean, that's
It's
true.
it's like, but yet meanwhile, and there's tons of conventions and there's tons of things like that, but there doesn't seem to be outside of like 5 or so spots online where you could actually purchase comic books online. It's
Yeah.
really strange, like retail wise. Now you can go to various creators and publishers and whatnot, and I
Their
think like
specific website. Yeah.
yeah, crowdfunding has definitely turned it to kind of like this digital newsstand.
Basically.
But
Yeah.
but it's really strange that more midtowncomics.com type places have not really popped up. So
Well, that
hopefully you can
makes
come up
me,
with
this is the thing that makes me wonder, though. It's like, okay, is there a reason for that? If that void is there a reason for that void? Is it because it doesn't work, or it's too much of a hassle, or too much of a headache? Is it worth me even going down that road?
Yeah.
But
I guess you'll find out.
I will find. Hey, I am willing to be a guinea pig, as long as and I'm very upfront with our creators that join. I'm like, this is just like we are a baby. We are growing. And I really appreciate you jumping on board and having faith and seeing potential. There's going to be growing pains. We're going to try and figure this out together. My goal is honestly just to bolster the indie community and try and make comics, I don't know, more popular, like something that people could actually make a living off of. These are all very lofty ideals, but that's all we're doing. So, it's going well so far, and I'm having a lot of fun. We'll say that.
That's great. Do you do this full time, or do you have a day job?
No, I have so if I swivel my camera this way, you will see a bunch of computer monitors. I thankfully work from home. I'm a data analyst for a marketing firm. So it's nice. I have flexible schedule. I can do this while I work. You know what I mean? Like I can answer emails. I can do a Discord call. I can do all that kind of fun stuff. So I think honestly, that's the main reason why we've had momentum. It's just because I give myself zero free time.
Oh yeah, well, I'm right here with you.
Yeah, hey,
I'm still waiting for
and it's
that
working.
free time, but you go from working like 20 hours a week on it to 30 to 40 to 50,
Yep.
60, 70,
Yeah.
80.
Hey, this is our free time though. I'm having fun, right? This is just relaxing. This isn't work. It's not
Well,
work if
that's
you're
the
having
thing.
fun.
Yeah, that's true. I've tried to get more in the mindset of like this is a part of the job, so it is like work, because that's what's tough, right? When you pursue the thing you really enjoy, it's really difficult to put the work label on it, because
Yeah.
you're always drilled in that like work is kind of something you got to do. You probably don't enjoy it.
It's a naughty
You
word.
know?
You know what I mean? It's work. I
Yeah.
don't want to associate comics with work, because then it's like a mental thing of like, oh, well, now I'm working. It almost sucks the fun out of it. But at the same time,
you just gotta view it in a different way, because it's work.
Yeah.
It's just you can enjoy your work.
I'm having fun. So far. Check back in a year, but so far.
Well, so far you're doing things better than where I was at in your situation. So I don't foresee the same levels of resentment, regret.
Okay, good. I hope
perhaps
not. Yeah.
that I would later on have. So I think your trajectory is going to be better than mine,
Okay.
which I like
That-
to see.
That makes me feel good.
That makes
Thank
me
you.
feel good, though. I don't want people to go through the stuff I've been through. That's kind of
Same.
why I even have this show and do these conversations with creators too. A lot of creators always watch the show and they learn from everybody too, which is good.
Cool.
Comics for Life says, not being a superhero-based book, do you find it getting more attention overseas since they seem to take more to non-superhero comics? Are you having more success internationally or domestically, would you say?
So we have, obviously, I kind of alluded to it. We find most of our success locally. That's just how it works right now, mainly because social media is a dumpster fire. You literally set money on fire if you're trying to do social media ads to really build your brand at all. So that just sucks, and that's just what it is. So right now, boots on the ground cons is where we find all of our success. That said, we have a surprisingly large, a big chunk of our global comics audience is Brazil, Portugal, India, a bunch of Egypt. That was really cool to see them pop up like pretty high on the list last month. And I'm like, this is awesome. But to your point, yes, I do think that might be part of it. Now, when I say comics are oversaturated, I am almost leaning towards, I'm being more pinpointed with that statement in this way. I feel like superhero comics are a little oversaturated. Comics in general, like unique comics, are not necessarily there's not a ton out there of like unique IPs that aren't like superhero based. So that's honestly where we've kind of found a footing in comics. Is right now I'm literally working on our first superhero based comic, and I'm having so much fun, and I can't wait to put it out. But that's 14 titles into our library is going to be our first superhero comic. So I have definitely seen a lot of success overseas. And then the fun part about that is, how the heck do I get them their books physically? Because shipping sucks. And so like Refuge, no offense to any viewers out there who are outside of the US of A, we're only shipping to America for the Kickstarter just because it's too difficult. And I've had so many people reach out. It's like, hey, is this coming to New Zealand, Australia, Scotland, England? And I'm like, no, at least not yet. My goal is to eventually, but otherwise, for $30-$40, is that worth it to you? I feel bad.
For some people,
it
is. I mean, I give people the option when it comes to international sales, but every single time, especially through a crowdfunder, by the time I do fulfill it, I'm like, wow, it went up like $5. So I'll eat like about $5 per international shipment, sometimes more. But it is what it is. It's not their fault. But
which is what makes me feel bad, because I feel like you're missing out on that market for these people. And I try and be like, hey guys, it's not that I don't love you. Trust me, I would love for this physical book to be in your hands. It's just the barrier to entry is so high with shipping now and that's another innovation thing that I'm working on. I have a connection in Scotland, a connection in Australia that we're going to try. Well, that's the only way I'm trying to circumnavigate or whatever subliminally.
Are you trying to drop ship internationally in a way? Then is like,
I don't know, man.
Getting people their stuff and then having them ship it out, and you ship.
I'm trying. I'm considering it. Well, let's just say that I have two people that have local printers that they're very confident in, and one of them is a creator for Bentbox, so that's helpful. He's in Scotland. The other one just wants to help, so that's nice, but he's in Australia. I'm considering maybe my next Kickstarter campaign, I'll test it. I'm considering going, hey, yeah, here's money for 50 copies in Australia. Go ahead and ship them out. Let me know what the cost is, just to see if it works. So I might test it.
Well, again, good luck to you with that.
Good luck, man. I need luck for sure.
Oh yeah. We all do. To your point though about comics being oversaturated, I think your idea of it is fine, and I think comics in general are oversaturated for the space that we have. Not in terms of like there's just so many comics in general, and not enough room for them. But there's not enough room because there's this weird, like, finite, small, tiny sector of retail distribution.
True.
Where it doesn't give them space, and the larger publishers, for some reason, aren't twisting the arms of these individuals to be like, hey, look, we have billion-dollar films. We can get these books into stores now. It seems like before, when billion-dollar comic book movies didn't exist, and that probably would have been like a good laugh if you said that to somebody. Comics were everywhere, and you saw comics in all the stores, and you couldn't go to a store really without seeing at least 1 or 10 comics. But now it's like there's so many comics, and there's not enough space to put them in. And that is one reason why we're very invested in digital footprint. I do think, as much as I love as much as I love that, and we always print our books with like a nice matte finish. Everything's high quality print, nice paper. I love feeling that. You know what I mean? I'm from that era. I like that. That said,
we're definitely trying to up our digital footprint just because we know that's kind of where the market's going.
Yeah,
people want,
you gotta
it's
figure
Netflix
out
on your
whatever
phone.
works for you. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Now,
We'll see.
let's take a look at your book here. Could you
Sounds
bring
good.
up your campaign?
Oh yes, I forgot. I am in charge of this, and I apologize in advance to everybody. Here we go.
And Darker Half says, but Pete, I'm a dedicated fan from down under. I know you are, buddy, and I appreciate that. And that's why we offer to ship to wherever, all over the world. And I'm glad that you're able to support us in that respect. So thank you.
I know that, like I said, I have so many people from Australia, and it's frustrating because I want to get them their books. I will work on it, I promise you.
Yeah, I
How
mean,
about that?
when you give people the option to ship, because some will balk and then others will understand, and like the Darker Half, like they get it.
Yeah.
But I want to give them the option. But if it was one of those things of like, am I going to offer you U.S. shipping rates, and lose like $40 every time? I can't do that.
And then worry about custom. I've had a handful of things come back in custom. They're like, no, everything was fine, and then it just got bounced back. I'm like, that's another $50.
Oh,
I'm
that's always that always is a killer.
I
when
can't.
that happens. And there's certain countries like you mentioned that you had a strong readership in Brazil digitally. I would anytime, and there's only been a handful of times. Anytime I've ever had to ship anything to Brazil, it never makes it.
No, it never makes it. I've done it twice now, and I feel terrible. And the people even ask, they're like, "Where's my book?" I was like, "I don't know." And trust me, I want to know.
Something happens. There's like a black market of
some dude in Brazil is sitting back
down there,
reading that book.
Yeah,
yeah,
like Starface sitting on a pile of comic books
of our books. I think you might be onto something. Unfortunately.
All right, so you got Refuge Chapter 1. How many books in this series do you think they're going to be?
My plan is 4 to 5. I typically give myself, so once again, I'm the creator of this specific series. I do also promo for a bunch of our other creator-owned books, but this one's my baby. I typically give myself an issue buffer, but that's mainly because the way I write is very not structured. I have my point. I have basically all my through lines and my beats I want to hit, but I like giving myself like a side quest capabilities as long as it suits the campaign or the storyline. So 4 to 5, it's going to be a nice limited series.
Nice. Look at that. So is this an all ages book? I think it says it is, right?
Oh, you got it. All ages.
Adventure.
Yeah. All ages action adventure series. So the tagline is, a young child soldier escapes the cruelties of war. He is met by a terrifying presence, for fans of Calvin and Hobbes. That was just to hopefully pick up a couple extra backers, see if I could reel someone in. But yeah, so this is Refuge. We are funded, which is amazing, and I appreciate everyone who has supported us so far. Do you do trailers? I don't know if you...
Oh, yeah, if you want to show a trailer, yeah, let me just get this logo out of the way, and then you can have the full screen.
Well, here, let's test it. Let me know if you get sound coming through. How are we looking?
No sound. Are you playing?
All right, let me...
I'm not hearing any sound. Should there be sound?
Do you hear it coming up? Did you hear anything there?
No, I'm not hearing any sound. Did you want to maybe reshare because like I know sometimes you gotta share like a tab or whatever on instead of sharing
you might be correct. Let me see if that'll work.
Because that should
apologize. Yeah, I appreciate it. You gave me this massive responsibility and power, and now I'm failing at it. Let me do this. I'm going to do a quick refresh. I am very proud of the trailer, so that's why I wouldn't mind showing it. But
okay, you know what? I'm gonna remove it. Close that that window that you're sharing, and then reshare it, but share it in a tab, and then it should automatically click off on the sound for you.
Okay, all right. I have a tab open. Thank you, Wizard. Well, I mean, if it works, then thank you.
Yeah, don't thank me yet.
Yeah. All right, Chrome tab, share. Let me know if you see it.
Let's see here. Okay, there it is.
All right, and now we're crossing fingers.
Yep, now I hear the sound. All right, great.
Beautiful. Full screen?
Yep, full screen it.
All right. There you go. All right. What'd you think? Ooh, I don't know. I can't hear you.
Very nice.
Hear me?
I'm muted.
There you
Sorry
go.
about that.
Okay, good.
Yeah, very nice. It looks good.
I appreciate it. All right. So if you want me to I'll take lead. I'll run through it. So our story is chapter 1. This is the current book that I'm crowdfunding. Is the first chapter, single issue, is the beginning of Pavel's epic journey. Pavel is the main character. After a cruel war has taken everything from him, Pavel escapes the battlefield to find refuge in a mountain cave, but his safety is short-lived as he discovers he is not alone. So yeah, little 4 to 5 issue series. The other thing that I try and lead with right off the bat is this is going to be a silent comic. There are no speech bubbles, no narration. It's led 100% by the art.
Oh, okay. What was the thought behind that?
I'll you know what? I'll save it for the end. I'll get to. There's a reason I put it at the bottom, because a lot of people say shut up and get to the art. That typically is how crowdfunders go.
That's
yeah, but hey, I get it. The art needs to be good, and we're bringing it. That's my goal. But I'll tell you why. So here's the previews. The artist that is leading this project is Lucas Jensen. He's a young buck out of Brazil. I think he's only 24. Very talented. I basically fell in love with his art style, and it completely matched my vibe that I was going for with this book. So this is his first comic he's ever done. So I'm very excited to work with him. He does everything. He does the inking, lettering. I mean, lettering is in any kind of sound effects, and then colors as well.
Even more akin than to the Peter and the Wolf comparison that I made, where that's basically a symphony. So you got to have some really great visual storytelling then, if you're not going to have any words.
Yeah, that so I will say it's been a challenge, but a challenge that I've been thoroughly enjoying. And this is something I've mentioned in previous shows, is that every panel has to have a reason. You can't have a panel of like the two characters sitting next to a bonfire and then they explain their whole background, or there isn't the ability for that. So you quite literally have to show. There's no tell, there's only show. And the thing that you need to be careful about with that is the show also needs to be good. It needs to progress the page. So the flow of the page matters even more than if you had it lettered. It is a challenge, but I will say I've run the thumbnails. The whole book is storyboarded and everything. We have a bunch of pages already ready. I've run it past people, and I mean, unless you disagree, I'm trying to basically, in these specific ones, I picked these pages specifically, kind of show you the type of cinematic storytelling we're attempting to do in a comic book.
Are these sequential, or are these pages that you've picked?
Pages that I've picked, I believe there are 1 or 2 pages kind of in between each.
Okay.
Yeah. Like there's a page in between these two right here that I love, and it's one of those one, you know, you kind of have to pick and choose which ones you want to show, but
yeah,
I made sure to save that one. So yeah, that's kind of the challenge, is you have to show everything, and it has to be very pointed, very specific. Which,
what was the artist name again? Did you say Lucas was the artist?
Yeah, Lucas Jensen out of Brazil.
Yeah, Lucas is really good with the expressions, which is very important, especially
yes. So that's
already
why
important, but that's a must for a wordless
exactly.
comic.
I think I saw he had on his Instagram a picture of Eminem, his favorite artist is Eminem, and like Pikachu on his shoulder. So it's a very odd clash. But I could literally see the facial expression so perfectly in Pikachu. And it was one of those things. It was like, oh, he gets facial expressions. Like he can nail that. And that's honestly one of the main reasons I reached out. I was like, I need to have that nailed down. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. You need to have that. I mean, a lot of modern comics, or at least a lot of mainstream comics, seem to have really taken a back seat to the proper visual storytelling, where you can take large amounts of text out and still understand the flow of the story and what's occurring, because it is a lot of this kind of back and forth conversation with almost no emotion to read.
There's no facial expressions. There's no like mouth movement, no anything. And you are literally speaking my language at this moment, because it's one of my biggest pet peeves about more modern stuff. Is I'll be looking at a panel and they'll be having this discussion about something that has some weight to it, and they're just standing there. And I'm like, what are we doing?
I've seen like panels where characters are supposed to be like shocked or fearful,
right,
or emoting something that's very important, very heavy, and they're just blank faced.
Yeah,
it's like they're blank faced, and it's like, but the words like no, but then it's like no, like what, I don't know what's up with that.
It's almost like the equivalent of like, you have a movie and you hire a terrible actor. Like the actor's just terrible. Like, you're not, hey, emote, give me something, give me the line.
Yeah, with the movie analogy too, it all looks like real bad dubbing.
Yeah, that is what it looks like.
And in the opposite respect, in a movie, you'd have like the exaggerated expression, but the dubbing would be very stoic and monotone.
No. It's like, oh man, we got to find a happy medium here somewhere.
Like
guys.
They're screaming, they're on the floor, and it's like, no.
Yeah, I feel like we're in that space with modern comics, and it's a little annoying to me, not gonna lie. One of my bigger pet peeves that we just hit.
And it's not everybody, because there's great artists that can pull it off,
sure.
And still do, but it's by far and wide, it's far too
common. It's too common.
So that's great that you got an artist with the expressions, and that an artist too. I gotta say, and I've mentioned this before with my own comics and with a couple others. You got an artist that can also draw a kid.
Yeah,
there's a lot of great artists out there that, unfortunately, for some reason, it's nightmarish when it comes to them drawing children.
It's nightmare fuel.
They
I've
look
seen
like
some
tiny, wrinkly adults.
Yeah, it's Benjamin Button, and I'm like, what are you doing, man?
Yeah, like it's frightening and weird, and I don't know. And there's some very talented artists out there, but when it comes to them drawing children, they really can't. So I'm guessing you picked the artist to work with, and if so, kudos to you for recognizing that they could actually draw a kid.
Yeah, for sure. No, this was one where I was basically going hunting on Instagram, just trying to find an artist, because I had the script, and I honestly didn't know like my style. I didn't know the style I wanted. I basically was like, I know I'm going to see it when I see it. You know what I mean? And yeah, I came upon Lucas's profile, and I'm like, holy crap, this is it. Thankfully, I reached out to him. He was actually already following Bentbox, the publishing Instagram page. So yeah, it's a match made in heaven at the moment, and he loves the characters. He's super invested. So it's great that I found him as an artist for sure. So
nice. Comics Life has a question for you. Says,
yeah,
are the character designs yours or the artist?
yes. So when I work with an artist, I typically give them as much creative liberty as possible, always, and that will result in a full page being changed based on my script, just because the artist saw it in a different light or had a better idea. I trust the artists. Similarly, we're saying, some artists can't draw kids. I can't really point too many fingers in that direction because I can't draw stick figures. So I trust my
You're
artist.
also not looking for work as an artist.
That's true. I'm not wearing the artist cap, so that is a bit of a difference. But I trust my artist fully. With the character designs, we basically collaborate on it a bunch. I send him a bunch of reference images that I kind of wanted to go for. He sent a bunch, and this will all be included in the digital deluxe PDF. If you back any of the physical tiers, you'll get that alongside it. Or if you just want digital, we have a digital deluxe. You'll see a bunch of our thumbnails and character mock-ups and yeah, I'm a huge fan of character design and stuff. So I wanted to be involved with it, but a lot of this was Lucas interpreting my ideas and just nailing it. That's kind of what it turned into.
So where you don't have dialogue on this,
No.
What's your scripting like? Is it very descriptive or is it pretty loose?
Yes. A little bit of both. So when you don't have dialogue, and I've had this conversation before where I'm like, I almost feel like a fraud saying I'm the writer of this book, because I'm like, there are no words. But that said, every panel, how I write, because I took a screenplay class in college. I typically write like a screenplay writer. Which does translate fairly well, because if you think about a panel, it is similar to just like a camera lens. You're just viewing this scene this way, and this is the camera. This is the panel for it. So I'm just very descriptive with all my panel views or panel descriptions, and they're all very like camera oriented, which thankfully so far every artist I've worked with has almost thanked me for it. They're like, I can visualize exactly what you mean. I rarely have any questions. But it's always like 3/4 view behind the tree. Pavel's left shoulder can be seen as he looks to his right. Like that's how I view it, and then, or how I describe it, and then I just let the artist.
Well, as long as you don't tell them to pan or zoom.
No, none of that.
Should be fine.
No panning or zooming.
Where they do that as if the camera moves, and it's like, no, you got to treat it like it's a still camera, like you're taking stills.
Exactly. That's how I treat it.
To a motion camera. Yeah, so close up. And then you have to direct when you talk about panning from whatever to whatever. You got to direct actually what are you focusing on per panel during the transition of those panels. Yep.
You have to dedicate a panel to that specific moment. So if you're saying zoom or whatever, that's a whole separate panel to interpret that. So as long as you understand that. But that's typically how I write, and so far it works pretty well. But yes, it's very descriptive. It's very obviously detail-oriented and focused on all the little bits that we need to see in this panel, since there's no descriptions, or there's no narrations, there's no talking. Like, this has to be told in this panel. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
With the actions of the drawing. So it's a like I mentioned, it's a challenge. And
will the whole series be that way too?
Yes, that's my plan.
Wow, okay.
So I mean I'm spoiling it, but I'll get to the reason why. So we'll cover the covers real fast. So cover A is, I'm a huge fan. I'm honestly not a huge fan of variant covers. I just personally am not. I enjoy the interior art matching, or the exterior art matching the interior art.
Yeah, same here.
That said, I have a couple artists like in my back pocket that I really thought would be fun to include here, so that's what I did. But all that said, the main cover is obviously Lucas Jensen. This is the interior artist. I think we nailed the cover. It's exactly what I wanted to go for this specific cover. Cover B is by Gabriel Fonseca. He is the main. He's also from Brazil. He's the main artist of Artificial, my first book. I just love him to death, and he's so freaking talented. So I just asked him if he could do a cover. And he nailed it, almost to the point where I'm like, I kind of want a version of the book like this now, just because I love it. It's so good. But hey, maybe we'll see. And then cover C is by Brian Middleton. He's an artist out of Ohio. This is more of like a kismet situation where I'm from Pennsylvania and I walked into my local comic book shop. The guy there, I mentioned that I make comics and I was showing him some of the stuff, and it was a cool conversation. And then he said, I have a good buddy who does comic book art. His name's Brian Middleton. You should check him out. I looked him up, and he does very Calvin and Hobbes-esque like styles. And so it was like, oh, well, this is perfect. Like, this would be a fun variant because it kind of matches the vibe of the series as a whole. So yeah, so we only have 3 variants, or 2 variants, one main and then cover B and cover C. Yeah, so nice. Those are those, and then I just go right to the rewards. We try to make this as low barrier to entry as possible with our price points, just because we kind of have them zoned in pretty well for everything. But your standard digital is $4. Digital Deluxe comes with a bunch of bonus concept art and sketches and thumbnails and storyboards, all that stuff, for $6. Your cover A physical print is only $8, and that also comes with the Digital Deluxe. Cover B is $10. Both variants are $10, and both come with the Digital Deluxe. And then the collector's bundle is all 3 of the covers, obviously, for $25 with the Digital Deluxe. And then we have the Monster Bundle, which is all the covers plus every campaign-related add-on for $45. And the reason why I specify every campaign-related add-on is because we have like all of our books as add-ons, like our whole library. Artificial's on there if you've never read it, all that stuff. So this way you can see that.
Wow, nice.
And then
just campaign.
I try to make it affordable. That was my goal, mainly because I have a good printer. And I know what my printing costs are, and I have no reason other than money being awesome to charge more than I'm charging. So I just wanted it to be a low barrier to entry. That was my goal. And then your add-ons, kind of your typical stuff for the first 2. Sticker sheet. Lucas had some fun making some fun little stickers. You got your logo. You got each character has like a scar. They kind of mirror each other, the characters. You'll notice that throughout the series. So that's fun. I like that. The poster pack, all 3 covers as posters. And then the thing I'm most excited about, which is the coloring book. So this will be available as an add-on if you choose.
Nice. What kind of paper are you using for the coloring book?
So I'm actually working with the printer right now. And I can't remember. You actually might know the specific specs of it, but I told him I want to print a coloring book. What are the best specs for that? And he's like, I got you. I'll send you all the specs. So that's basically what I'm doing. I don't remember the exact one, like the paperweight and the texture and everything. Do you know what it would be called?
Well, it should be uncoated. That's for sure.
Uncoated, right? Okay.
So it shouldn't be matte or gloss or silk or whatever. It
So-
should be uncoated. Probably a 50-pound to a 60-pound. It might be if you're doing a technical coloring book the way it's been done, and you can find them in stores. They're going to give you like a groundwood paper. If they don't do it on groundwood, which is a little thinner. Groundwood is weird. It's like a little thinner because it's lighter, but it's like a little thicker to the feel than a standard of the same paper stock poundage. It's like a weird way to describe it. Yeah. Like what I'm using is a high grade newsprint for what I'm printing on, which could also be turned into like a coloring book. If someone, it's like sturdy enough, you could use crayons and whatnot on it. Marker, it might bleed through the other side.
That's what I worry about. Yeah.
But definitely crayons would be fine, and colored pencil too. But yeah, if you're looking to make like those adult coloring books and that kind of thing with that kind of paper stock, and someone could get real crazy with markers on it, you want at least like a 70-pound then. like a 70
okay.
pound uncoated. So
I would like that just to mitigate any issues. You know what I mean? If someone wants to use marker, they can use marker. That's kind of
Yeah.
that way I don't screw anything up and be like, ah, crap, I used marker on it and now it's ruined. I'd rather just let people be able to use marker. I trust my printer so far, so that's kind of why I said, hey, I have a coloring book idea, and he goes, oh yeah, we can print a coloring book. I got all the specs for you. So,
all right,
but
very nice.
Your knowledge helped me to hopefully like double check them. That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it doesn't hurt, you know. So if they give you like a 70 pound uncoated, you know that it's going to be a good paper stock that could use whatever marker.
Sweet. Okay, cool. I like that. Thank you. I'm going to make a mental note of that. And then my stretch goals. So we did a fun little thing right here where basically we just have like this lead up. I have some pretty lofty stretch goals. And once again, the campaign ends tomorrow at 5 p.m. So I'm not super worried about hitting these. It would be cool if we hit them, but yeah, so the 5,000, and you know, once we get there, the footprints get there, and then the bag opens, and then there's like a big celebration thing here, and then we continue on to 8,000. So,
no, nice. How close are you to 5?
That is a great question. Pretty far. I mean, not too bad, but
okay. Yeah.
Our current trend, seeing $750 in a 24-hour period, is not likely, but you know, you never know.
You never know. It's weird the last day of a campaign, you know.
I know, and to be honest, this campaign has been kind of weird. So, and I don't know if I need to get into any of those details, but it's been a slightly odd campaign with how it's been performing. And then I'm not going to tend, you know, because we're not going to get there. I'm not worried about it, but I'll pitch this to you. My idea for 8,000 was that something that I don't think has ever been done before. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I was planning on, it cost me, and I'm very open with the cost for the book because I want people to understand, you know, we're not gouging for pricing or anything like that. To pay my artists correctly, it costs about $3,500 to make book 1. We've already priced out book 2. It should cost around the same. So I made a goal from the get-go. I said, if we make 8,000 as a stretch goal, I already have issue 2 written. I was planning on just making issue 2 because the artist gave me a timeline for it, and that would just be included in your package. You would get 2 issues.
Oh, wow. That'd be awesome.
I mean, you paid for it, and this is what I've told people. Is like, my whole goal is to have this series happen. It's not to have, it's to be honest, it isn't to make money, and we all know that if we're in comics. But my whole goal is to make it happen. So like, if I make that, there's no reason for me not to just, it's already going to go into issue 2. I have the script written, so like timeline wise, let me just send you guys issue 2. You guys made it happen. You know what I mean? So that was my thought.
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, if that doesn't happen with this one, you know, hopefully it does happen down the line. That's a good idea.
Yeah, like 3 or 4. If the series is popular enough and does well, I'm probably going to keep the same stretch goals. I'm probably going to have like a doubling of a stretch goal, and you're just going to get the next issue. You know what it means? It means less Kickstarters I have to actually run.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You know, pluses everywhere. The team, obviously, it's my goofy face, and then Lucas, this you know, spring chicken. But yeah, so that's all we got involved with it. And then basically, lastly, I've spent a decent amount of time on the campaign. I appreciate you letting me, but the reason behind it being a silent comic is this is part of our Comics for a Cause initiative, which is once again another way we're trying to innovate in the comic space. Is because comics, and we alluded to it earlier, is so kind of fractured, and you know, you have infighting, and you have groups, and you have all this like garbage, all this noise. You know,
comics
people
are way too small to be so petty.
It's insane.
Here we are.
And the funny thing, like I said, I only started like 3 years ago. I remember having this novel idea of, you know what, I would love to get, I'm going to get into comics again. I'm excited for it. I just get blasted with like politics and stuff. And I'm like, wait, here too? I remember like saying that out loud. I was like, what do you, I thought we were supposed to just have fun. We're just escaping. This is comics.
There's no escape, Chris.
There's no
escape.
Freaking escape, man. So our way of flipping the script on the indie space and scene was to, once again, this is another thing that John and I basically collaborate on, is Comics for a Cause. It's where we give back with our books. specifically books that actually kind of tie in very well with a specific cause. We're not just like giving money to just random charities. It has to be pointed and specific. One good example is John wrote a book called Blossom. His daughter was miscarried, and she suffered from a cleft lip and palate. He found a really cool, that was the reason behind him writing the story. He found a really cool organization called the Smile Train Foundation, which gives back to kids with cleft lip and palates. So that story supports that. And then this story, Refuge, I actually teamed up and had a meeting with some of the representatives from World Vision, which is a really cool organization that improves the lives of child refugees across the world. And so seeing as the story is kind of about a child soldier who's been displaced, is trying to find home, has lost his home, I figured that would be a fun collaboration. So as you can see, we have the Proud Supporter badge, which means that we are like legit with the organization, which is pretty cool. But this was the main reason why we made it silent comic, is because my goal is to allow this book to be as low of a barrier to entry, and that includes language. A child in Africa, a child in, Central America, anywhere could, in need or in struggle, or someone that is impacted by World Vision's efforts, could enjoy this book the same as you and I could. I don't have to have a translator. I don't have to have anything. That was my goal. So,
are you donating books to them to distribute to the charity, to the kids?
Yep. So my goal is, and so this is the fun part, is I learned a lot of legal things about charities that I was not expecting to need to know. And that includes, you cannot say the specific amount you are planning on giving. Like I originally said 10 cents of every book. And the guy reached out and said, you can't do that. It's illegal. I'm like, what are you talking about? And he goes, anyway, that's a whole story. But I learned a lot of legal stuff about charities, which is kind of stupid and annoying, but I get it. After he explained it to me, it made sense. So we kind of decided on once this book becomes published and in circulation, I'm planning on having it be like a buy one, give one. So if you buy one on the website, we give one to the charity, and every quarter we'll just, count up all the sales we've made, send a nice little box to World Vision, and they'll distribute.
That's awesome. Very nice.
Yeah. So that's that's kind of what we're trying to do. We're doing a lot of things, but that's one of the things. Bedbox promise, I just basically say no AI. That should be no duh at this point, I feel like, but no AI.
Oh yeah, not any longer.
Yeah, unfortunately. But that's pretty much it. Let me know if you have any questions or anything else you want me to show off. But that's
very nice. Let's see. Headless Bourgeoisie says backed it and added on Artificial number 1 and 2.
Awesome.
So there you go.
Thank you. I think you'll enjoy all 3 of those books.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you so much, man, for coming on here for the conversation and for sharing your book with us.
No problem. I appreciate you having me. This was a lot of fun. I like hanging out. This is one of my favorite. I enjoyed this podcast the most. I'm not going to lie. And it's my last one of the circuit, so I'm ready to not be on camera for a month. That's probably all it's going to be.
There you go. Yeah, take a much needed rest. The digital book tour really, it can wear on you.
Yeah, dude. How many times have I said these exact words? And I'm trying to figure out a way to not say it the same way again. But yeah, I appreciate the time, man.
Well, that's also why I don't want to make a whole show about, the infomercial power hour where we go through your
fun,
campaign. Dude. Let's have
I like talking comics. Yeah.
Because it's like you're doing this, you're talking about your book, you're going here, you're going there, whatever. But by the time you do like 4 or 5, it starts to become like, all right, pull the string. The book is $25.
Yeah, that naughty word we mentioned earlier,
like
work.
And over.
It becomes work, like we mentioned earlier.
Yeah, it becomes a drag.
Yeah, but this was fun. So we're all good, man.
Well, thank you so much, man, for stopping by. And Critical Read says, great show. Peter's a real one. That's for sure. I'm not AI, not just yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. Maybe one day they'll download my consciousness into some godforsaken contraption.
Hey, you can just sit back and let him do
Hopefully
these
not.
interviews. Yeah.
Oh man. I don't know. Let's hope it doesn't get to that kind of nonsensical future. But I have
Yeah.
a feeling that we wouldn't have much of a say if
Yeah.
it does
Well,
go down to that.
maybe you should read Artificial as well. I'll send you a free copy.
Oh well, thank you.
It's
very
basically
much.
what it's about.
Very cool. Comics Life says, great show, like always. Great guest. I agree. Great guest. Thank you so much, Chris. I really, really appreciate you being on here, being generous with your time, talking about your comic and talking to me in general about the comic industry, what you guys are doing as an upstart publisher. And you guys are really trying to innovate and make new things for not just yourselves, but for others, which is great to see because we need a lot of that. We need everybody doing their part as much as they possibly can. And thank you so much for sharing what you guys are doing and for being on here. Appreciate it, man.
No problem. All right, once again, appreciate the time. Thanks so much, chat, for hanging out with us. And hey, good luck on the printing campaign, man. That's another innovation that's awesome. So
thank you.
It's awesome to see it.
Yeah. Oh, it's going to help out a lot of people, and I think it's going to be going great for a long time. And thank you, everybody, for being here in the chat tonight. Thank you for backing Chris's campaign. Thank you for backing the campaigns that I do, the printing campaign, the King Cryptid campaign, all that good stuff. If you're an Alterna Comics reader, just in general, thank you so much. And if you're just a viewer too, thank you as well for just being here and participating in the show and the conversation. We really appreciate it. All right, everybody, until the next time I see you, which will be Saturday, I'm going to have a comics collection auction of mine. I'm going to have a dollar bin show, get some comics out of here. And hopefully you guys will join me for that, 9 o'clock Eastern Saturday. Until then, I'll see you guys at that point in time. Everybody have a wonderful night and an even better tomorrow. All the best.